Hey guys, today I have something really special for you. We're going to be looking at the Rolex Daytona, and this is the stainless steel with the white dial, otherwise known as the Panda. Alright, so let's take a look. So Rolex sleeve and box, just like any ordinary Rolex, nothing different here. Inside we're presented with this green Rolex box, which they all come with. Alright, always a good feeling when you open up one of these green boxes. There it is, guys. Beautiful watch. All right, and you got Rolex written up there. All your typical Rolex fanfare here with your warranty card and instructions manual tucked in there. All right, guys, this watch, as you guys know, is probably one of the most coveted, if not the most coveted Rolex model known. For fans of steel, which pretty much everyone is these days, if you're not into the meteorite dial or the white gold or platinum or any of that stuff, this is pretty much the peak of where Rolex gets you, right? This is going to be the best stainless steel model subjectively, but you know, the most sought after stainless steel model Rolex pretty much ever since the older models with the Paul Newmans and all the other really sought after Panda dial Daytonas. This one is just the best of the best so far. It now has a ceramic bezel, the beautiful crisp white dial, very nice polished case. Everything looks very high end. You have this nice polished center link bracelet with brushed on the sides. That beautiful dial with that red Daytona writing looks just magnificent. And the dimensions of this, even though it's a chronograph, you can see it's super thin, and I don't think I've seen any other chronograph that clocks in this thin. This is one of the most perfect proportion watches, not just in Rolex's catalog but overall. And as far as sports watches go, I would go as far as saying this is the most compact chronograph I have ever held. And the reason it's called the Panda dial is because of the white dial with the black sub registers. On the older models, the sub registers were filled in and they were completely black. On the newer ones, it just has kind of like these black rings. In my opinion, I kind of liked it when it was filled in all black, but this is still a very clean and nice look as well. And the red Daytona writing really just pops. Also, you'll notice on the hands, it has these black lines going through them. It just gives it a little more depth in appearance. The pushers, the crown, the signed Rolex crown, everything just looks very nice. So as you guys know, this watch is pretty much nearly impossible to get unless you have a good track record or you just happen to be very lucky. I think Rolex purposely produces less of these and far fewer than any other model which is in their catalog. So it's just a very hard watch to acquire. And for those of you who did get the chance to acquire it, say that you guys are very blessed and very lucky to have something like this. I think it's an amazing watch and I think it's spectacular. All right, so let's get it on wrist and see how it fits. All right, guys, here it is on my 6.5 inch wrist, and you guys can just see that it just looks perfect. It's really good dimensions. It looks very tidy and neat. The way it sits doesn't look bulky or overly blingy or any of the sort. It looks like a very decent, very well composed watch. I really like that. As soon as you put it on, you could tell the bracelet, the clasp, everything is very high quality. Just like my sub, this has the oyster clasp and it has the oyster style bracelet. Even though it is polished in the center, I believe this is the same type of bracelet that my sub has. It just fits really well, very comfortable to wear, looks really good proportionately on the wrist. Very nice watch overall. Now, for those of you who can't get a watch like this, I do highly recommend the Seiko speed timer. That in the Panda configuration with the white dial looks amazing as well. And believe it or not, I get a lot of compliments when I'm wearing that Seiko, despite this one being a Daytona and a Rolex. For some reason, that watch just has so much appeal. And even to this day, while I have this watch on my wrist, this is probably worth about 30 times, if not more, than how much the Seiko's now worth, especially now that prices are falling in the secondary market for those and they're leveling out. I would say that watch is a huge bargain. Now, of course, you guys are thinking like, what am I saying? I'm comparing a solar quartz Seiko to a fully automatic Rolex masterpiece. But believe it or not, I think that watch punches way above its weight. And I think for some of you, if not most of you, acquiring a watch like this is going to take a lot of time and patience, and it's just very tough to do. And I think that watch is relatively going to give you a very similar feeling for this style. Now, I'm not saying it's an exact one-to-one comparison, but I'm just saying it's a nice watch as well if you want something that's a Panda chronograph. Overall, especially with hearing of what's going on in London and other major cities, the watch crime rate has skyrocketed, and wearing something like that definitely feels a lot safer than leaving the house with something like this, especially if you're going to be out in the city and you're going to be out at night. So that's another huge factor and another consideration when you're thinking about stepping out in a watch such as this or any other Rolex or high-end Swiss timepiece, especially Rolex because it's so recognizable though. That's unfortunately the times we live in. Overall, I mean, this is like the holy holy grail. For many people, this is the holy grail of watches. This is what they want. For those who are not striving for a Patek or AP, I think this is pretty much the top of the top. And I can understand why. It's a fantastic watch, and even wearing it right now on my wrist, it's just such a great feeling. Such a nice watch. You know, you can have something like this in your collection and still appreciate all of your Seikos and your G-Shocks and whatever else there may be, but it's true that this watch does feel very special indeed, very different, and it's just something that everyone aspires to get, and now I understand why. It's just a very attractive watch, and I love that kind of domed crystal that it has too. It's not really domed, but it's lifted. It's kind of like that vintage box crystal, and that's a really cool touch. I didn't think this watch would have that, but now I'm finally getting to handle it, and I can see that it's really cool. But like I said, amazing watch. For those of you who are fortunate enough to get one or get the call for one or just purchase one on the secondary market, you know, kudos to you. That's amazing, and I hope everyone can experience a watch like this, and I hope one day the market regulates where pretty much anyone can walk into a boutique and pick up something like this. I still think my other watches are just as special, but this one is, I still think my other watches are very special, and you know, huge kudos to Seiko for putting out that Panda speed timer, because that watch has a lot of legacy. Seiko's been the official Olympic timekeeper for many years, and I'm talking back in the 60s, and that's a very modern reinterpretation of what the speed timer once was back then. And this watch is kind of, I hate to say it, but in the same ballpark. It's a 60s chronograph that current touches to make it a little more modern. You know, it's just an amazing timepiece. So no matter what your budget is, there's a watch that can fit that same style and aesthetic, and I feel like we're very lucky to have this many options. And for those of you who are like me, who can appreciate both sides of the coin and both sides of the field, not just saying the grass is always greener, but learn to appreciate what both watchmakers can make and what they do. And I think that's what watch collecting is all about. I think it's fantastic. So very cool watch. All right, guys, let me know what you think in the comments below. See you guys next time.